Hello, scholars! Welcome back. I am excited to be talking with you today about quantitative research, in particular, participants and data collection. This video is probably going to be done in two parts, and it is partially adapted from Chapter 7 of our textbook, which is Plano Clark and Cresswell's Understanding Research. Okay. Now, some of these concepts that we're going to talk about today I've referred to in other lessons, and so we get to dive in today. Okay, first, let's just get an overview of the role of data in research. So, we might be reading about research and we get research questions, or something happens in our professional or personal life that leads to a question. We gather data to try and answer our question using a data collection instrument. We might create a data file from that instrument. Often it's an Excel file that we create. We analyze the data statistically. We produce charts and tables, and that's very easy to do, charts in Excel, right? To do graphs and whatnot. But we might use statistical software if we're doing more advanced analyses. We write about our findings. We and then in this way, or we share our findings verbally, such as a presentation at a conference, and in this way others learn about our research, and that hopefully leads to new research questions and further exploration. In order to understand that process, we need to understand sampling. Now we're going to start this this lecture starts kind of a series of lessons that can be a little bit technical, and so I wanted you to encourage you not to be scared. Every time I tell someone that I teach statistics, that I meet someone at a party, or I'm having dinner at a friend's house, and I tell someone that I teach statistics, I teach research methods, the reaction is usually like that. Because they may have had traumatic experiences in their past regarding statistics, or even doing quantitative research. I wanna say, don't be scared. It's okay. We will go through this together. Okay, and of course, keep those questions coming. All right, so first of all, let's do some definitions. Statistics: a collection of theory and methods applied for the purpose of understanding data and the answers we get from using those theories or methods. Data, information, it can be numbers, objects, people, characteristics, basically just information. And a construct is some unobservable characteristics, for example, motivation or intelligence or depression, that we gather data about. And then there's dependent and independent variables, often tricky for the novice researcher or novice scholar. The dependent variable is the outcome, okay? And the independent variable is what goes into that outcome, or the predictor, okay? All right, two types of statistics: descriptive statistics. That's a collection of methods for classifying and summarizing data. And when you think about the average or the standard deviation, those are descriptive statistics. And inferential statistics are used to make predictions, correlations, to make estimates about a population based on information from a sample. Okay, population, the large group you want to study, the sample, a selection of those people. We get parameters, are statistics, are I'll say values related to a population, and statistics are values related to a sample. That's one of the uses of words the word statistic. Another use of the word statistic is what we have up here, the collection of theory and methods applied. So population versus sample. Population, all the people, objects, etc., that comprise a group of interest, right? So that's everyone. Examples are all third graders, okay? All adolescents, all football players, okay? And the sample is a smaller portion of the population that is actually participating in your study. Hopefully your sample is representative of the larger population that you're interested in, and it's unbiased. And bias here is used to say that there's not one group of people who are larger in your sample than they are in the population. Okay? And the sample is used to make inferences about the population. Okay? Often we cannot, actually study all third graders, even all third graders in the United States, or even all third graders in, a state in southeastern United States. We study a sample, a smaller portion. And what we're looking for is to be able to generalize our results that we get about our sample to the larger population. Okay? And this idea of wanting to generalize to a larger population, or to generalize even to a future group that is similar to our sample, okay, this larger population, either in location or in time, is our goal. We want to be able to generalize, and this is what really drives sampling in research studies. So defining a population, that's the first thing you need to do. We start broad, then narrow. Then we narrow down to maybe specifically who we're interested in. Maybe we're interested in, all people with autism. But then, oh no, wait, no, really we're interested in kids with autism. No, wait, really we're interested in elementary school aged kids with autism. Okay, so starting broad and then narrowing. Thinking about, is our population realistic? Is it accessible? In some cases it is. Maybe you're just interested in students at a particular school. And if it's a small school, you may be able to, let's say, survey all of those students or review all of their grades, okay, to answer your research question. Often it's not realistic because the population is not accessible. Then you get a sample. But basically the population you want to examine is your target population. And then probability sampling. We are on slide 7. Now this is when you think about this idea of randomized control samples. It relates to probability. Okay? Probability sampling. Probability sampling is a random process to select individuals or units, such as schools, from the population so that each individual has a known chance or probability of being selected. Okay? So you'll know what the chances are of an individual being selected. It's the most rigorous form of sampling because the investigator can make the strongest claims that the sample is representative of the population. And we want the sample to be representative of the population because we want to generalize our study results to the entire population of interest, right? And it requires that the research, this image, obtains a list of every person in the population, and results found in the study may likely be generalized to this larger population. All right, let me save. Okay, with the shrink down image. Okay. Non-probability sampling, which honestly is what happens in most research because it's a lot easier. You select individuals to study because they are available, convenient, or they meet some criteria, which is it's not always easy to find people who meet specific criteria. But in general, non-probability sample is easier for researchers to implement than probability sampling. It limits the conclusions that can be drawn about the results from a study because the study is not necessarily representative of the entire population. Okay, so is a chart showing how different sampling methods are characterized. So there are three kinds of probability sampling. There's simple random sampling, often abbreviated SRS. There's systematic random sampling. Also, the abbreviation for that is SRS, but when you see SRS, it always means simple random sampling. And there's stratified random sampling. In terms of non-probability sampling, there's convenience sampling. That's the participants who are available and accessible. And purposive sampling, selecting participants on purpose. And that is often a key strategy in qualitative research as well. So, when you're reading a quantitative study, how do you identify who the participants are? Usually, it's one of the first topics discussed in the methods section. Okay, often you can find out just from the abstract. It may be in the methods section, it may be under a subheading such as participants or sample. It usually identifies both the population and details about the sample that was studied, and determines the sampling strategy that was used and describes it, whether it was probability or non-probability sampling. Okay, part B is identifying how quantitative information is gathered. And I'm actually going to leave that for the next video, okay? So, to be continued. All right, talk to you soon. Bye-bye.